Hey there, in this video I want to talk about how over the last year we've been creating content somewhat consistently, but we haven't been gaining momentum in terms of leads, in terms of sales, or building an audience that's actually worthy of authority. And I want to break down some of the lessons that we learned and walk you through what we're thinking about right now and how we're going to be switching that up throughout 2026 and how we've already started making some of these changes. So if you are a service professional, then you probably are very clearly understand the difference between being an influencer who is going to be just creating content so that the sponsors pay you more, so that the platforms pay you. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who have a legitimate business and are bringing in additional traffic, additional interest from YouTube, from Instagram, from TikTok. Right now, we're doing okay, but especially on YouTube, we're not exactly winning. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what's going on. And first, I'm going to walk you through the mistakes we've been making. So when it comes to content, this has been consistent, right? But it hasn't been doing great. So the content is there. So with every episode that goes, we're making, technically progress, right? But the momentum has been totally flat and hasn't been going anywhere. And that's been discouraging. And I think that maybe it feels personal to me because I am an agency owner. We built this up to a 7-figure agency where we serve clients who are doing extraordinarily better than us. And I thought, well, why would people trust me with their content if my channel is not doing so well? So I kind of felt this urge that I just need to do it. So it tempted me to make these mistakes. Now, if you are a service pro, you probably are going to find some of these familiar. So mistake number one is I was box ticking. Every single week, I thought I should put out a certain amount of videos. There's a volume amount because as a service pro, you're usually paid for a certain volume of work or a volume of deliverables, right? And our clients give us stuff every single month or week or day. And we, depending on the contract, we have to deliver like that. But when I'm doing it for myself, I found that this format doesn't work so well because it leads me to number two. When I know that I need to deliver something on a set pace, then we go to club random. I'm putting out random content that sometimes doesn't serve my business interests. So me, I think I'm a sucker for like validation. So I'm putting out stuff that's just gonna get more likes. And I started making this, the series of videos about studio setups. And that got the most engagement. Like, oh, here's how you use this piece of tech, and here's how you hook this up, and here's the adapter. And everybody liked that, but when I stepped back, I realized, this is not helping my main business, so I had to stop that. I did a podcast that helped a little bit, but it wasn't super in line with it. I also did, just giving people advice on how to speak better on camera. And, that didn't do very well either. I mean, sorry, it was random. Like, there was good ones and bad ones, but the thing is, I was not coming from what's gonna help my business. I was coming from what I think people are gonna wanna watch. And it didn't help my business. So I cleaned up my channel. You'll see on this channel, it's got a lot less content because we're kind of starting fresh. Now, the third mistake I made was I was positioning myself as a teacher who did how-tos and not as an authority. So here's how I see the difference. When you are teaching people how to do something, then you just become a resource for solving that specific problem. But if you want people to go further upstream and pay you a lot more money potentially to hire you or your agency or your services, then you got to think, how can you position yourself so that you're telling people how to think, not what to do? So these are the mistakes I was making. And I want to flip over to the next part here. Let's talk about how I'm thinking about this now and the things that we're implementing. And we're going to go from the top row. So I want to talk to you about the contrast between these. So it's really easy to get really fixated on the views. You just want more views, and you look at the videos that get the most views and you try to make more like that. But AI is getting super smart. What we're looking for is retention. So instead of just chasing the views, I'm looking for where exactly in the video are people dropping off, what percentage of people watch all the way to the end, and where are people actually sticking around? And this is because AI is getting super smart. They're no longer just looking at the hook or the thumbnail or how many people click it, because you could trick people into clicking your videos, right? What they're looking for is, did people have a good experience? And the way they're judging it is with once someone clicks on, how long are they watching? And the longer that they stay on, the longer they're gonna stay with you. So for me right now, instead of me doing like, retention editing and all these fancy titles and boom, 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 I'm just gonna speak like man to man as if you're somebody who's interested in what I'm doing, and I'm sharing how I would in maybe a consulting call, right? So that's number one. Number two is discipline. I don't know about you, but I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and I can do discipline for short amounts of time, but a year commitment, I can say yes. I've said yes in the past, but discipline long-term did not work for me. What I needed instead was systems. So when it comes to systems, what I mean by that is instead of me saying, you know what, I'm going to create as much as I can or as often as I can, I say once every 2 weeks, Mac is going to come over, we're going to shoot some content together. Before that, I'm going to have written a few emails. We're going to do one long form, we're going to do a few short forms, and that's the system. And then I hand it off to my team. I think it was Dean Jackson who said something called the Moo Method, where you as the entrepreneur need to be like the cow. You sit there and what you produce is milk. And then everybody else around you is the one who needs to feed you, need to clean up your poop, needs to take that milk and get it pasteurized and packaged and sold. Like everything else happens around you, you stay stationary. So the systems are what allow me to be the person in front of the camera and to share, what's my unique knowledge. Okay? So let's look over here. Mistake, this is the other one. Cleverness. Cleverness is my weakness. I always try to be clever. And it's hard for me to not, but I realize that the more clever I am, the fewer people actually understand what I'm talking about. Cleverness leads to confusion. I want to switch from cleverness to obvious. So with the content I'm making, just look at the title of this video. It's not clever. It's not using some fancy, way to trick you into watching. I'm just saying what it is, what I'm talking about. The way I'm presenting is also completely different. I want to be obvious about what that is. All right, so let me just break down for you the exact system that we're going to be rolling out throughout 2026, and we're probably going to stick 70 to 80% to this throughout the rest of the year. So first of all, bi-weekly, what we're doing is we're getting together and doing a shoot. Now, in order for this to happen, the way I work is I work with email first. So the emails are what actually allows my brain to organize thoughts without thinking about performance and without thinking about lighting and production, all that. I just want the message to be clear. So I want it to be written form first. And if the written form is good, then we'll work on turning that into content, right? And then we take that and turn it into a YouTube video, like what I'm shooting right now. There's gonna be email you're probably gonna get at some point that's related to the same content. So because I'm writing a few emails and we're pushing out maybe 3 to 4 a week, then I just look for the best one or maybe a combination of a couple and convert that into a YouTube script. Now, the other thing we do once every 2 weeks is based on the emails and the YouTube video, we're gonna shoot about, let's just say, 6 to 8 reels. And this is, again, going to be based on the email. So I'm going to have 6 to 8 emails, and each of them is going to correspond to a reel in general. If I feel like it's good for a reel, then I'll shoot it. And then this means that every week, there's going to be 3 to 4 reels going out. There's going to be 3 to 4 emails, and every other week, there's going to be a YouTube video. So that's basically the system for this. Now, monthly, this is what we're looking at. Once a month, we're going to have a workshop. I love the way Frank Kern said it. He said, you actually prove you can help people by actually helping them. And on the workshop, it's a paid workshop. We're asking people to pay a certain amount of money to show up. And what we're going to do is actually solve the problems of life with them. We're not going to bait them and tease them about this value and then beat them up for not committing right away and then getting a few sales. That's not the way we want to do it. We actually want to solve the real problem and then have a soft invite into our program. So at the end of the workshop, we ask, raise your hand if there's something you're interested in. If it is, then we have a conversation with them. If we're a good fit, then we end up with happy customers who are paying money and coming into our coaching mentorship program. The last thing I want to touch on, because a lot of people are interested, especially in short form content, is what's our short form strategy with these 6 to 8. So if we were to draw classic funnel, then I'm going to say that we have growth content, we have trust content, and we have lead magnet content. So growth content is when you're gonna make entertaining content. It's gonna be like a skit format. It might be like some B-roll with text, right? What we're doing is we're addressing the specific pains of your niche that they have in an entertaining way, and that's gonna reach more people. You're not gonna talk about your program or what you do. What you're doing is just entertaining people and getting the, I showed you earlier, the retention graph as high as possible. We want people to watch, but we want the right people to watch. Trust is when you position yourself as the authority. You tell people how to think, not necessarily exactly what to do, but you can also include some how-tos in there. So there's a mix. If you show people how to do it, people are going to trust that you're the person that can solve the problems, and you have to tell them how to think. The lead magnet is pretty clear. You offer some value, you demonstrate a lead magnet. You could say, hey, this is this thing I built and this is what it does. And at the end, you say, and if you want it for free, comment down below, keyword, and I'll send it to you. And then that actually gets people into your funnels, into your sales system, so that they can become your customer. So here's the thing I want to make super clear. I'm not making this video to brag about, hey, we've figured out this perfect system. This is literally a draft of what we think is going to work and continue working through 2026. But we're not where we want to be. But I'm making this video so that if we get there and when we get there, I can point you back to this early video and say, look how, this is how we started with humble beginnings with barely 1,000 subscribers and pretty much starting over. So a tiny bit of a segue. In my personal life, I've recently exited a business that was GoBox Studio. And what that means is that a lot of my focus has shifted. The agency space, when it comes to editing for other, as a service, video as a service, is also something that's being threatened with AI, automatic AI editing and things like that. And the editing tools are getting cheaper and more available to everybody, which means it's hard to make a profit doing this as a service. So I have to think about, okay, moving upstream means talking about strategy. And that's what my coaching program is about. It's showing you the strategies to use to gain more customers, to take people from cold to warm to hot, and to getting people to pay money and be happy to continue paying money month on month. So that's what I'm pivoting into. I've been doing this for clients and for customers for a long time. Now it's time to do it for myself, building my own brand, and this is the path we're taking. So thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you're enjoying these updates and you want to see more of how we're progressing and pivoting and figuring stuff out as we go, or if you're on a similar journey, make sure to hit subscribe, follow this channel, and I'll see you in 2 weeks from now.